Everyone knows about Jupiter's Great Red Spot, right? That swirling, massive storm that's been raging for centuries, maybe even millennia. But what if I told you this iconic storm might not be as old or as permanent as we've always believed? Yep, this colossal storm might not be the same one astronomers first saw hundreds of years ago. And even crazier, it could be disappearing faster than anyone imagined. Jupiter's Great Red Spot has been a staple of space exploration and astronomy for as long as we've been able to look at the planet. A storm larger than Earth, spinning endlessly on the gas giant, its rich red color making it unmistakable. For over 300 years, it's been the subject of fascination, art, and countless scientific studies. From its massive size, twice the diameter of Earth, at one point to the winds whipping through it at 400 miles per hour, the Great Red Spot seemed like an unstoppable force of nature. But in recent years, something strange has been happening. NASA's Juno spacecraft, along with the groundbreaking images from the James Webb Space Telescope, has been providing us with new, incredibly detailed data. And what these images are showing us is nothing short of astonishing. The Great Red Spot is shrinking, and fast. It's nowhere near the size it once was. And that's not even the most surprising part. Some scientists are beginning to question whether the storm we see today is even the same storm that was first observed in the 1600s. So, what's going on with Jupiter's most famous feature? Why is the Great Red Spot shrinking, and is it really disappearing? And could it be possible that the storm we see today isn't as ancient as we thought? Let's unravel the mystery. For centuries, the Great Red Spot has been seen as a constant in our ever-changing solar system. As the planets orbit the sun, as seasons change on Earth, as stars live and die, there was always Jupiter's storm, a seemingly eternal fixture. Astronomers first observed a massive storm on Jupiter in the 1600s, with Italian astronomer Giovanni Cassini recording what he called the permanent spot. The storm was so massive and distinct that early telescopes could easily make it out, even though technology was primitive by today's standards. But as we fast forward to today, the narrative around this giant storm is shifting. Juno's flybys of Jupiter have shown that the Great Red Spot is not only shrinking, it's changing in shape and structure. What was once an enormous, sprawling storm is now less than half its original size. It's becoming rounder, less elongated, and more shockingly, it could disappear within the next few decades. Imagine a Jupiter without its Great Red Spot. It sounds impossible, right? And here's where things get even more complicated. New research suggests that the storm we call the Great Red Spot today might not be the same storm that was observed back in the 1600s. Some scientists are now questioning whether the original storm disappeared, only to be replaced by the one we're familiar with today. If that's true, then this legendary storm might be much younger than we ever realized. This raises some big questions. Why is the Great Red Spot shrinking so quickly? What happened to the original storm? And most importantly, could we be witnessing the last days of this iconic feature? Let's dive deeper into what the latest research tells us. First, the shrinking. Over the past century, the Great Red Spot has been noticeably getting smaller. In the late 1800s, it was estimated to be about 24,000 miles across. That's more than 3 times the diameter of Earth. But today, the storm measures only about 10,000 miles across, meaning it's shrunk by more than half. And it's not just the size. The storm's shape is changing as well. What was once an elongated oval is slowly becoming more circular. The winds inside the storm are still incredibly fast, but they're swirling in a smaller and smaller space. NASA's Juno mission has been crucial in tracking these changes. Since it arrived at Jupiter in 2016, Juno has been gathering high-resolution data on the planet's atmosphere, giving us unprecedented insights into the behavior of this storm. But here's where things get really strange. A recent study by researchers led by Agustin Sanchez La Vega from the University of the Basque Country suggests that the Great Red Spot we see today might not be the same one astronomers observed in the 1600s. When Cassini first observed Jupiter's permanent spot in 1665, it was a dark, massive storm. However, by the early 1700s, this storm vanished from view, only for another storm to appear in the same region decades later, in the 1830s. Could it be that the original storm disappeared completely, and a new storm, what we now call the Great Red Spot, formed in its place? The theory is that Jupiter's atmosphere, which is constantly shifting and swirling, may have caused the original storm to dissipate, only for a new one to emerge from the planet's chaotic weather systems. If this is true, then the Great Red Spot we see today could be much younger than previously thought, maybe only 150 to 200 years old. This would completely rewrite the history of Jupiter's most famous storm. And that's not all. The storm is shrinking at an alarming rate, and some scientists believe it could disappear entirely in the next 20 to 50 years. This raises a fascinating question: are we witnessing the final stages of this legendary storm? And if the Great Red Spot does disappear, will another massive storm eventually take its place, continuing the cycle that has played out over centuries? Here's the kicker: the idea that Jupiter's Great Red Spot, the most iconic feature of the planet, might not be as ancient or eternal as we thought, is a game changer. Imagine a future where, when you look through a telescope at Jupiter, that giant red storm is simply ... dawn. Scientists have been tracking this storm for centuries, and yet we may be living in the very last chapter of its existence. Recent data from both Juno and the James Webb Space Telescope shows that the storm's intensity is also changing. The red hues that give it its name come from chemicals in Jupiter's atmosphere being broken down by ultraviolet light from the sun. But as the storm shrinks, the intensity of those colors has been fading too. This could mean that the storm is running out of energy or material to sustain itself. The shrinking, the color fading, the shape becoming more circular, these could all be signs that the Great Red Spot is in its final stages. And here's the most mind-blowing part: if this storm fades away, it could leave behind nothing but a calm patch of clouds. The planet we've come to recognize with its giant red eye staring back at us could soon look completely different. Jupiter's Great Red Spot has been a symbol of cosmic power and mystery for as long as we've been observing the stars. But now, thanks to missions like Juno and telescopes like James Webb, we're learning that even the most massive and seemingly eternal forces in our solar system are far more fragile than we once thought. Whether it's the shrinking of the storm, the changes in its color, or the possibility that this isn't even the original storm, the Great Red Spot is showing us just how dynamic Jupiter's atmosphere really is. In the next few decades, we may see the end of this legendary storm. And while that might seem sad, it also opens up new mysteries about Jupiter's future. Will another storm replace it? What other secrets does Jupiter's atmosphere hold? One thing's for sure: our understanding of this gas giant is constantly evolving, and the story of the Great Red Spot is far from over. Want more space mysteries? Hit subscribe and stay tuned for the next cosmic discovery.